Tonight, uncertainty over the use of single-sex spaces continues. The First Minister says there has to be full guidance on the use of female facilities in places like hospitals and restaurants before decisions are taken.
We don't yet have that guidance. We expect to have that guidance towards the summer, and that's exactly when the Scottish Government will consider these issues.
Also making the headlines, a warning from GPs. A massive funding gap means practices don't have the resources to provide all patients with the treatments they need. In sport, after Celtic's title triumph, Callum McGregor says they head into Sunday's Old Firm derby determined to right some wrongs. And it's rough at the top. We meet the handsome hounds going paw to paw to become Hollywood's top pooch of the year. I'm Kellyanne Woodland. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. The First Minister says it will be this summer before there is clarity on the use of single-sex spaces. The Equality and Human Rights Commission issued an update on guidance at the weekend, saying trans women should not be allowed to use female facilities in places like hospitals and restaurants. John Swinney says the Commission will have to produce its final guidance before any changes are brought in. He was speaking at the STUC conference in Dundee, from where our political correspondent Ewan Petrie joins us. What did the First Minister have to say then, Ewan?
Well, John Swinney was speaking to delegates here in Dundee earlier this afternoon. He was talking about supporting industry, about the need to tackle the threat from the far right. But he also talked about reaffirming the rights of trans men and women following that ruling from the Supreme Court that sex is defined by biology in the eyes of the law. Now, at the weekend, the Equality and Human Rights Commission issued interim guidance on how that should be implemented in practice. So after his speech, I asked the First Minister if that provided any more clarity for trans people and when the Scottish Government would be issuing its own advice on the matter.
The Scottish Government will address all of these issues as part of the work that we take forward to implement the outcome of the Supreme Court judgment. We have to take care in doing so. We have to rely upon the guidance from the EHRC. That's exactly what we will do.
But you talked about a lot of the uncertainty and the anxiety among trans men and women around this issue. Is that not being addressed, or can that not be addressed sooner and give some kind of clarity to them in terms of what single-sex spaces they should be using right now?
We have to make sure that we use the appropriate guidance from the EHRC. That's what we relied upon in our previous legislation, and we have to make sure that we do that again. We don't yet have that guidance. We expect to have that guidance towards the summer, and that's exactly when the Scottish Government will consider these issues.
So it's as you were, even though the Supreme Court has offered that decision?
Well, the Government will take forward the necessary steps that we must take within the law, which requires us to listen carefully to the contribution of the regulator, and that's exactly what the Scottish Government will do.
Now, the STUC has described that ruling from the Supreme Court as problematic because it throws up so many questions. What they want and what trans people are looking for is clarity right now, more concrete information on the use of single-sex spaces. But it seems that we're no further forward following that guidance issued at the weekend, and all that it does remain clear is that we won't be any further forward until further guidance is issued, and that won't be until the summer.
All right, Ewan, live from Dundee, thank you for that. GPs in Scotland say they need a significant increase in funding in order to protect the future of the NHS. BMA Scotland, which represents doctors, is warning a shortfall of £290 million mean practices don't have the resources to provide all patients with the treatments they need. Our senior reporter Gordon Cree has more.
GPs are the front line of the health service, often the first port of call for people with a medical problem. But they say the share of the NHS budget they get has been falling every year since 2008, and with an ageing population and more demand, there are fears about how sustainable that is. Well, Dr. Ian Morrison is the chair of the BMA Scotland GPs Committee and a doctor here at Busy Practice in Midlothian. How critical is this current situation?
The situation is dire, Gordon. Since 2008, we have seen a gradual reduction in our funding direct from government to the sum of about £280 million per annum when corrected for inflation.
Now, people often talk about the difficulties of getting an appointment. Is this part of that, and what needs to be done?
It's absolutely part of that. Without that funding, we're unable to employ all the staff that we need to have a functional service serving the people of Scotland and delivering high quality general practice.
Does this undermine the foundations of the NHS? How bad could things get?
It really does undermine the NHS because general practice is the bedrock of it. Without good, robust general practice, you cannot have a free, universal healthcare system. So it is a direct threat to the future of the NHS.
OK, Dr Morrison, thank you very much. Well, for its part, the Scottish Government says it has increased investment in general practice this year, and it says it's committed to increase the number of GPs by another 800 by 2027.
Gordon Cree reporting there. Police have charged a seventh person in connection with damage at US President Donald Trump's Turnberry golf course. The 27-year-old woman was arrested in Ayr on Sunday and is expected to appear at the town sheriff courts in due course. Police were called to Trump Turnberry on the 8th of March when red paint was sprayed on the clubhouse and damage was also caused to the greens. Now, every 12 minutes, someone in the UK is diagnosed with bowel cancer. Screening is offered to men and women aged 50 to 74 across Scotland. But one woman we've been talking to says that age range needs to be lowered after she was diagnosed with the disease. Reem Sattar reports.
For 6 months, Kay was experiencing extreme fatigue and losing weight. After getting blood tests almost every week at her GP, she was diagnosed with stage 3 bowel cancer in 2023. At just 41 years old, she was under the screening age for the disease, which prevented an early diagnosis.
It was never brought up that it could have been anything potentially cancer or anything like that. They just put it down to me being kind of run down or going through menopause at my age. You know, we had to push to get these tests, and you know, it took for me to pass out to get to my diagnosis, to be fair, so it was quite hard going.
A survey conducted for Bowel Cancer Awareness Month revealed a third of people are unable to identify the symptoms. Kay believes there needs to be better communication around the disease.
It's so common now for people under the age of 50 to be diagnosed with bowel cancer now. I think just more communication, letting you know what is actually going on, and listening to, you know, the patient and thinking, oh, you're too young for that. That's not going to happen to you, and it did happen.
Bowel cancer is the 4th most common in Scotland. Screening is currently offered to those between 50 and 74. However, Kay is calling for this age to be lowered. NHS Grampian is looking to increase testing, especially for those from more deprived areas.
Screening is for people without symptoms. So what we would say is that anyone experiencing symptoms, which can be things like having blood in their stool, a change in bowel habits lasting more than 4 weeks, if you're losing weight without trying, or if you have severe abdominal pain, particularly after eating, we would say that please speak to your GP in that instance.
People generally think that bowel cancer only happens to people that are over 50. We need to push on this, and the screening level should be taken down, you know, even to 30, you know, to get the screening done.
It's hoped an increase in testing will mean sufferers can be diagnosed earlier. The NHS is currently trialling a blood test, which could catch the cancer at an earlier stage. Reem Sattar, STV News.
Calls are being made for Irish rapper's Kneecap to be axed from this July's Transmit Festival after footage emerged of one band member allegedly urging fans to kill your local MP. Two videos from previous gigs are being assessed by counter-terrorism police. The trio provoked recent criticism after displaying pro-Palestine and anti-Israel messages during Coachella in California. Afterwards, Kneecap claimed they faced a coordinated smear campaign. The promoter of Transmit, DF Concerts, has yet to comment.
They need to be taken off that platform on that Friday night at Transmit. There's no way that they should be given the main stage, never, or even a small stage, at a music festival that is the pinnacle of the Scottish culture in terms of that in July for our young people. They should not be there whatsoever.
A 14-year-old boy has been arrested in connection with a fire at a derelict building in Glasgow. Residents were advised to keep windows shut yesterday as firefighters tackled the blaze at Eskdale House and Easterhouse. Police say the boy will be reported to the relevant authorities. Vehicle breakdowns directly caused by potholes are on the rise. The average cost of repairing anything more than a puncture is now £460, and garages say they are inundated with calls from frustrated drivers. Tara Fitzpatrick has more.
From a daily annoyance to a threat to life, potholes are one of the most common concerns facing drivers.
I think everywhere you drive nowadays there's pretty much potholes, especially on the road that we're on. You can't go anywhere, you can't drive down the road.
There are a lot of potholes, and especially when it's raining, there's a lot of water all over the place.
I burst my tyre a couple of months ago. And see the procedure to try and actually claim for it is ridiculous.
They're just getting bigger, and it's just like you don't notice them until the last minute as well. There's actually one along there just now. There's a traffic cone like just sitting right next to it at the moment.
The roads are ridiculous, that bad that my tyre blew the other week, and I'm constantly having to dodge potholes.
The RAC has recorded a 19% increase in call-outs related to poor road surfaces compared to last year, and garages say the cost to customers is piling up.
Over about the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, it's been getting worse. A lot of people coming in, and I've hit a pothole, I now have this noise, I now have that, can you check it? Everything's getting more expensive, and then when your customer then hits a pothole and it breaks it, I think they just absolutely fear the worst and think, how much is this going to cost me? You get the ones in tears, they're the worst. Because it's like, it's not your fault, it's not as if you could avoid it, you could tell me. They're the ones.
The Scottish Government told STV News that it's for local councils to maintain the roads in their areas. But ministers scrapped plans to reduce car journeys by 20% over the next decade, meaning pothole problems are unlikely to disappear anytime soon.
Particularly since COVID, I think the standard of the roads has been pretty deplorable. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said that it was the worst it's ever been. And to be fair, most of that has been, was repaired, but now you see those repairs all falling apart again. Suspension costs for me 2 years ago were $2,700 for an 18-month period, and that's not sustainable for any sort of business, never mind general members of the public. It's an unexpected bill.
Glasgow City Council say a further £20 million will be invested in road maintenance over the year ahead, but the nationwide pothole problem will remain a bump in the road for many. Tara Fitzpatrick, STV News.
Lots coming up in sport. Here's Rahman.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Spring Sale.
Good evening. Callum McGregor says Sunday's Old Firm derby is the perfect game for Celtic after being crowned champions, insisting they're ready to right the wrongs from the last two derby defeats. Meanwhile, after Celtic's title triumph, Arne Engels admits winning with this team is like a drug as he targets more success at Parkhead. Here's Ronnie Charters.
It was party time at Tannadice as Celtic wrapped up the title in style. Their 55th league honour and still on course for their 9th domestic treble. For the club's record signing after being nominated for the PFA Young Player of the Year, he admits he's caught the winning bug.
It's an amazing feeling. Like you said, it's my first, so cannot wait to get other ones. So it's like a bit of a drug that you want to achieve so much and win so much, and it's an amazing feeling.
It was total domination in the city of discovery as Celtic swept United aside, sprinting over the finish line. With 4 in a row now in the bag, attention turns to Sunday's Old Firm derby, a fixture Celtic have lost in the previous 2 meetings. Callum McGregor, nominated today for the PFA Player of the Year, is ready to right some wrongs.
When you lose a game like that, and then when you lose it at home, it's not happened to us too many times. Not at all, to be honest. So you then feel it. You feel the gravity of the situation. We can enjoy being champions, but obviously we know what's riding on the game at the weekend as well. We want to put it right after what happened in the last one. So yeah, it's the perfect game for us, really.
After Saturday's celebrations, Brendan Rodgers confirmed he's 200% staying at the club next season. The league title means the Northern Irishman is now the most successful living manager in the club's history.
So happy. I came back because of the professional challenge of Celtic, knowing the pressures. My emotional attachment to the club clearly has me here rather than be elsewhere, and just the chance to be the most, to be the best manager at Celtic that I can possibly be, and days like today makes it really special.
Daisen Maeda and Nicholas Kuhn have also been nominated for the PFA Player of the Year, alongside Dundee striker Simon Murray. Ronnie Charters, STV Sport.
Liam Fox will remain in interim charge at Hearts until the end of the season. That after Neil Critchley was sacked as head coach at the weekend. Former Tynecastle player Ryan Stevenson has told STV Sport the club's board are to blame for their disastrous season. Live now to Jamie Borthwick, who's at Tynecastle. Jamie.
Yes, Raman, for the second time this season, Hearts have sacked their head coach. Neil Critchley relieved of his duties in the hours after the defeat to Dundee. It's a result that's plunged them into a relegation fight and has them looking for their third boss in 7 months. And now there's some pretty big questions being aimed at the board here as to how they've ended up in this situation once again. The full-time whistle on the game and on Neil Critchley's time in charge of Hearts. The Tynecastle crowd, what was left of them, made their feelings clear. Once more, Hearts are on the hunt for a new head coach.
I was quite pleased, but I also felt sorry for him. He seemed a nice guy, but he had an impossible job to do, really.
I don't like sacking managers, and Hearts sack more than most. I just think that they've got to get it right first time, and we get it wrong first time far too often.
We're back to where we started when Naismith was here. We're there in the beginning, it's just getting a bit crazy.
Could have had a better manager from the start, and I think they really need to take the time now to get somebody in that the fans want, that the fans will get behind, and give us a better season next year.
Critchley guided Hearts to 15 wins, 6 draws and 13 defeats during his 6 months in charge, but the key results evaded him. Hearts were knocked out of the Europa Conference League. They were unable to win an Edinburgh derby. Then the club failed to make the top 6 on the Englishman's watch, and his side was defeated by Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup semi-final. And after sacking 2 bosses in 1 season, former Hearts star Ryan Stevenson believes the blame lies with those running the club.
I think what the board should have done, me personally, is I think they should have come out and they should have taken responsibility, because it solely lies, for me, it solely lies with them. But I think the board need to sit in a room and understand what the DNA of that club is, and understand that the next appointment they need to make has to be long term. It has to be somebody that has a plan and understands solely the DNA of Hearts.
Liam Fox will take interim charge for the final 4 games, tasked with avoiding a battle against relegation. So how do Hearts ensure that they get the right appointment? Well, Graham Jones, the sporting director, is now fully in post, and he's forged a really strong working relationship with Jamestown Analytics. That is giving optimism that they can finally find the best man for the job. The immediate focus is going to be ensuring Premiership survival for next season, and then this board here are going to have to ensure that they do not make another costly mistake.
Plenty of work to be done at Tynecastle. Jamie, thanks very much for that. Now, after Eilish McColgan set a new Scottish marathon record, the athlete says she's now eyeing Paula Radcliffe's British record. Competing in her first race over 26 miles, McColgan, who finished 8th in yesterday's London Marathon, admits it was tougher than she expected, but says there's more to come from her over this distance.
She is going to, I think, smash that Scottish record.
A Commonwealth Games champion, a multiple medalist at European Championships, and now a Scottish record holder in a marathon, and that too on her debut. Eilish McColgan passed the finishing line in London after 2 hours, 24 minutes and 25 seconds.
I was so nervous. I've never been so nervous for a race like that before. I think the distance is just completely unknown. You know, I've never ran hard over a half marathon, anything longer than a half. So I knew it was going to be tough.
The previous Scottish record was held by Steph Twell in 2019. Eilish's mum, Liz McColgan, ran a time of 2 hours, 26 minutes and 52 seconds at the 1987 London Marathon.
Obviously, for it to go back into my family name is really special. You know, it was the last one of my mum's PBs that I hadn't broken. Straight after the race, I gave her a call. So she was really, really happy, obviously, that I broke her time. But again, she was similarly with me. She feels like there's a lot more to come.
And after creating a Scottish record, McColgan is now eyeing Paula Radcliffe's British marathon record of just over 2 hours and 15 minutes.
It would take an incredible effort and outstanding performance in order to get down to that sort of time. But I mean, I thought the same with Paula's 10k record, running 30 flat on the track. I thought, God, I'll never be able to do that. And then I did. And I broke every record now, 5k, 10k, half marathons that were all set by, obviously, the great Paula Radcliffe. So the fact that she's ran 2:15, I think, well, maybe. I suppose I've tried not to put a limit on it. In the past, I would have thought, oh, no way, just not possible. But once you start breaking the other records, you get a little bit of momentum.
Eilish McColgan there, who competed at her first marathon in London yesterday in front of 57,000 spectators.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Spring Sale.
And all being well, Jacob Fernley's match at the Madrid Open is due to resume tomorrow. Also happening tomorrow is John Higgins, his quarter-final match at the World Championship. Should be a cracker, Kellyanne, against Mark Williams.
Indeed. All right, Rahman, thanks very much for that. Well, the weather is picking up. Let's get the forecast now from Sean.
Midday Mayan temples, followed by sunny afternoons on the sand. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
A very good evening to you. In the next couple of days, we're going to have the warmest weather of the year so far. Temperatures in some spots peaking about the mid-20s. Wednesday will be the peak, and then it starts to turn a wee bit fresher into the weekend. And next week, as we start off May, we're going from a southerly to a northerly. So the emphasis on warmer weather over the next couple of days, but then next week, colder air, return to overnight frost, maybe a wee bit of snow over the tops of the mountains. Of course, April, May can be fickle. We can go from cold to warm. Falkirk, Grangemouth, probably top spots. Clickmannon over the next couple of days up to about 22, 23 degrees Celsius. And then we see those just temperatures tailing off a wee bit as we head into the weekend. But the much fresher air starts to move in from the north next week, but let's not worry about that just now. Warmer conditions for the time being. Now overnight tonight, a mild one to come. Temperatures for most of us about 10, 11 degrees Celsius. I expect in the countryside, parts of Ayrshire, Lanarkshire, Stirlingshire, the temperatures will get a wee bit lower, down to about 6 degrees, but for most of us a mild night. Broken cloud. Tomorrow, not much to say about the weather map. It's broken clouds, so bright, sunny spells through the day, feeling lovely in that sunshine, especially in central and eastern areas. Top temperatures up to about 19 or 20 degrees with light winds, so it's going to feel very warm out there tomorrow in that sunshine. Of course, remember, just several weeks away from the summer solstice, sun getting stronger all the time now. Remember your suntan lotion over the next couple of days. Lots of blue skies. Highest temperatures coming on Wednesday, temperatures into the low to mid-20s in some spots, but we will see some high-level cloud coming into the northwest later on the day. So sunshine will be turning increasingly hazy, but Wednesday is looking like a cracker of a day to come. Thursday, a bit more cloud around, the risk of some showers, and temperatures just a wee notch down compared to Wednesday. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, today saw Holyrood go to the dogs, in the best way possible, of course. MSPs and their canine companions went paw to paw as they competed for the much-anticipated Holyrood Dog of the Year. 13 MSPs entered the competition, which is being held for the 7th time. Caitlin Hutchison went along to get a sniff of the action.
It's one of the most anticipated dates in the parliamentary calendar. Forget debates and division. Today it's all about wagging tails, winning smiles, and frankly, better behaviour than we usually see at Holyrood.
Trevor is absolutely gorgeous, so he should win on that merit just absolutely alone. But I mean, he's very good at the agility, maybe not so good at the jumping cones, but you know, we can't be good at everything, can we?
I think Jim's favourite part of the event is meeting all the other dogs, especially the lady dogs. He's a bit of a ladies' man, yes.
Buster's been coming 7 years on the trot. He's previously won the public vote, and he's also been the winner from the Dogs Trust, so I think it's time for somebody else to win it. I do.
This year, MSP celebrated new milestones for dogs, including passing a welfare bill, proposing tougher laws on dog theft, and moving to ban greyhound racing.
It's all about raising awareness of the bills that are going through, but also all the work that's still to be done on dog welfare. So we're talking about issues like electric shock collars and microchipping as well.
Well, in politics, it's usually a dog-eat-dog world, but today at Holyrood, it's all about finding the goodest boy. And I think I've found him. Good boy, Buster.
Buster is the best boy. He is fantastic. I mean, Buster has come in from a different set of circumstances, a different set of kennels, where he needed to find a home quite quickly. And since he has been loving life with his foster, and hopefully soon being adopted.
Buster didn't end up fetching first prize today, but third ain't bad. It was Jenny Minto's collie Jim crowned top dog for his winning personality.
It's a ribbon that he will wear with pride when he's walking on the beaches of Islay.
A busy day for all involved. Caitlin Hutchison, STV News.
It's a dog's life. Well, that's it from us for tonight. Colin will be here with Scotland Tonight after the late news. From all of us here, though, good night.